For today's video, I do want to speak about Xavi's continuity. Now, first things first, I do respect Xavi's decision. I only want what's best for him, and if he believes that the best way for him to move forward on with his life is to leave Barcelona, that is fine. In my personal opinion, I have always been a fan of Xavi Hernandez, and I never wanted Xavi out. Yes, did we talk about how Xavi Hernandez could get sacked if a certain result does play out? That is true, but I never ever, and I believe that many other Barcelona fans never wanted Xavi out, no matter the results for this season. But then you do have the other half, where you have the audience that has been wanting Xavi out for the past 6 to 8 months. And within those past 6 to 8 months, the media and the people put a lot of pressure on Xavi to the point where Xavi Hernandez has said, I want to quit, I'm leaving Barcelona because a job like this, you cannot do anything. The people don't allow you. And ever since Xavi Hernandez announced his departure earlier this year, Barcelona have been unbeaten. And we have had defensive improvements from Christensen, from Araujo, Kubarsi also coming up. Koundé has also performed much better. We have Lewandowski scoring goals, Lamine Yamal becoming a protagonist in the final third, Rafinha upping his game, looking like if he's another form of Di Maria. You can just tell that Barcelona have more heart. Now, we still see some errors. I'm not saying that Barcelona have the perfect game and that Barcelona is the best team in the world. There is still some errors that do cost the club, but overall, our level is not going down. If anything, we're slowly climbing back up to where Barcelona should be at. And the reason why I am explaining this is because I truly believe that the media has torn Barcelona apart and has torn this sporting project that Xavi Hernandez was building with Deco. And I do think that it is a mistake for Xavi to leave this early. Yes, I get it, right? I am also excited to hear that Hansi Flick can take over. Nagelsmann can also take over. Maybe even De Zerbi can also take over. We have talked about this multiple times. We have talked about what they could bring to the club and that everything is all exciting and fun. But in the end, I think that for me and for many other Barcelona fans, our preferred coach moving forward, even after this season, it is Xavi Hernandez. And if we analyze Xavi's era so far, his first full season, he has won 2 trophies. In this second season, which we are currently in, we are third in the league, having a chance to go into second, and now we're considered to be in the top 8 best teams in Europe because Barcelona are now, for the first time after 4 years, since 2020, they're now in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. Xavi has been able to do this with a handicap Barcelona, a team that is struggling with so many injuries and also with many profiles that Barcelona do not have. We wanted to make transfers in the summer of 2023 to strengthen key areas, but we couldn't get that. We could not get the left winger we wanted. We could not get the right winger we wanted. We could not get a central defensive midfielder, most importantly. But in the end, Xavi Hernandez has managed to adapt this team and get the best case scenario out of it. And that best case scenario is for Barcelona to be named as the top 8 best teams in Europe. And that is huge. Now, you're going to be having the pessimists in the media and in the comment sections on Twitter, on Instagram, saying that yes, Kevin is good, but Barcelona are not in the semifinals. Yes, Kevin is good. They scored 3 goals, but they couldn't score 4. Oh yeah, Kevin, Barcelona beat Napoli, but they can't beat Bayern. They can't beat Manchester City. And then when Barcelona go into the quarterfinals or the semifinals and they beat a world beater, they're going to be saying, but Kevin, Barcelona are not in the finals. They're not good enough. The pessimists are just going to continue to tear down Barcelona for every level they do go up to. And that's a shame. But this is the world that we do live in. And in my opinion, again, Xavi Hernandez has done an amazing job. And I think that if there's a chance that Xavi Hernandez could stay at this club, I think that we should go all in and to try and convince Xavi that he should continue. Now, as of now, he does think that this is his last season. This is what he said after the match against Napoli. Right now, it's impossible for me to change my decision. I will leave the club at the end of the season. You keep on asking me if I will stay if we win the Champions League. No, I will not. My future will not change. My response will not change. I will leave at the end of the season. I told the players to stay calm. Nobody was going to die today. The press was saying we were the buffoons in the Champions League. Unfair criticism from the journalist. Was that necessary? Are we still buffoons now? I'm leaving in June. It's time for the change for Barcelona. Before the game, you said that against big teams, we are not up to it. And look at what happened today. If we had lost against Napoli, you would be writing that I have to leave and I would be on the street. We're on the top 8 teams in Europe. We have to be proud of what we did. It was one of our best matches this season. And so again, you can see that Xavi Hernandez is calling out the contradiction, the delusion from the media by stating that if I didn't win against Napoli, I would be a bad coach. But now since I won against Napoli, I'm a great coach. I'm one of the best and that I should continue. It is very inconsistent. And that is one of the reasons why Xavi Hernandez wants to leave, is because there's just simply too much pressure. And I think that overall, looking at what he has been saying, us as fans have to do our best to always support Xavi no matter what, whether we lose or we don't lose. Like if we lose, we have to support. If we win, we continue to support. support. We can't be inconsistent and say if Xavi loses today, he's the worst coach in the world. But then if he wins, he's the best coach in the world. It's not healthy. And so it's embarrassing to see that we have placed Xavi in this state for him wanting to leave. And part of the reason why there has been so much backlash on Xavi is because people lack a lot of context. They don't know what Barcelona is going through. The lack of money, the lack of players, all these injuries. It's really hard to support a team like Barcelona. And I understand that. It's always, this is why they call Barcelona a very special club, is because we are always in very special circumstances and situations. And here's the thing that kind of like blows my mind about this whole thing. On that same day, Arsenal also played and they barely beat Porto. They were on a tie, which was 1-1 global, which meant that Arsenal and Porto had to go to penalties. And we're talking about Arsenal having a tough time to beat Porto, and Porto is not even considered as one of the best teams this season. And Arteta has been with Arsenal for like 4 to 5 years, spending 600 million euros. And until today, he has not won a league and they have barely beaten Porto. Can you imagine if this happened to Xavi? Can you imagine if Xavi barely beat Porto in penalties, has spent 4 years with Barcelona and spent 600 million euros on transfers? Many people would be calling out Xavi and saying that he's a false coach, a bad coach, a coach that needs to leave immediately. But we don't hear anything today about Arteta. No one is talking bad about Arteta. Like literally go to the media and go search up Arteta Arsenal versus Porto. You're not going to hear not a single piece of bad news or criticism against the coach. But when Xavi brings in one bad result against a team, it's the end of the world. And so it's unfair. It's unjust on how we view Xavi and FC Barcelona. Even if you ask me, and I think that many of us can agree, who has done a better job, Xavi with Barcelona or Arteta with Arsenal? I would tell you Xavi with Barcelona because of the trophies that we have won, because of how we play, because of the youngsters we have been promoting. And here's going to be another thing that blows my mind. Now that I'm thinking about it, Barcelona are going to go into the quarterfinals facing teams where teams have spent multi-millions, if not billions of dollars on their squad. Barcelona are going to be facing teams that have massive squad depth, and then you have Barcelona going into the quarterfinals with like half a leg, sprained biceps, a bad lower back, a headache. And I'm just thinking like, can you imagine if La Liga was only fair? If only Javier Tebas did not make those stupid rules, Barcelona could have gone into these quarterfinals in better condition. And so I think that if Javier Tebas truly cared about his Spanish clubs and he wants his Spanish clubs to be competitive in Europe, you make these teams actually competitive and you give them room to maneuver to upgrade the squad and to make them as strong as possible. We have to do better. The Spanish president has to do better. I know that he wants to have the Spanish clubs do better. If not, then why is he the Spanish president? Why is he the president of La Liga if he's not going to be helping these clubs? Because the only team that I see that has been helped is Real Madrid. Real Madrid, they're like, yeah, sure. Invite everybody. You want to buy this player and that player? Go ahead. Bring them all in. No worries. Don't worry. We'll take care of you. And then when you go to the Champions League in the quarterfinals, don't worry. You will be in the same squad depth like Arsenal, like City, like Bayern, like Inter Milan, etc. And so Xavi is going to have to go into the quarterfinals performing miracles. I believe that Barcelona can do well, by the way, even though we don't have the best squad depth and even though we're going to be like the brokest team going into the quarterfinals. Also, great news. It has been said that Frankie de Jong is expected to be ready for the Champions League quarterfinal first leg, which will take place either on April 9th or on April 10th, which is amazing because if we do need one player out of all of our injured players, it is Frankie de Jong, because Frankie de Jong coming back would allow us to finally have Gundogan go up into the number 8 position, and we don't necessarily have to use Fermin Lopez as our number 8 or Rafinha as our number 8. Even though they do well and they create a lot of chances and you can see that they put a lot of heart in, I would still have Gundogan start as the number 8 because at the end of the day, he has goals and he has assists for a reason. So to have Frankie de Jong come back just in time for whoever we do place, whether it's Bayern, Inter Milan, whether it's Real Madrid or Man City, Frankie de Jong coming back into the starting 11 is great news. I even posted something on Twitter and I said that the quarterfinals will take place between these games here, all before the Clásico on April 21st. Frankie and Pedri aren't expected until the Clásico, meaning that Barcelona will have to go through their quarterfinal opponent without Pedri and Frankie. But this was before we heard that Frankie de Jong was going to make it in time for the first leg in the quarterfinals. But now knowing that Frankie will be back, I think that this is a huge plus. And I hope that Barcelona can go in, and I pray, right, and just go past the quarterfinals and go into the semifinals, showing to the world that Barcelona, even though they're financially deadbeat, we can still go deep, and showing to the world that Xavi Hernandez is the correct coach. And I hope that in some way does convince Xavi to continue, because we can build something special here. And I don't want the media to be the reason why we couldn't continue with Xavi and build this great sporting project. And so that is it. That is all I do have to say about this situation. Let's see who we draw for the Champions League on Friday, because that is when the draw is going to be held. It's going to be very exciting and I can't wait. But that is going to be wrapped in today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.